Invictus is here, and for the next 2 weeks, we'll be learning and showcasing as much as we can about the new ships and vehicles making their debut at this year's event. And since there's nothing that I can say that's anywhere as cool as what you're about to see, let's just get right to it, shall we?
We have a lot of ships and vehicles in our game now. Keeping brands with a consistent theme is important because it helps immerse you in the universe. You see a ship of a certain style and role, and you go, that's that manufacturer. So having brands and sub-brands or entirely different brands helps strengthen that narrative. MISC is traditionally very industrial, very civilian, and we really like MISC styling as a brand. It made sense to introduce Mirai as their performance subdivision.
There's a lot of possibilities for where we can take this brand in the future. And not only will Mirai be heading in new directions design-wise, it's also a great opportunity to go in unsafe directions that maybe MISC wouldn't have done themselves. Kind of blending of human and Xi'an technology already in MISC, and one of their charges is going to be taking it even farther.
With the introduction of Mirai as a brand, this gave us the perfect opportunity to introduce a more military fighter to the lineup. And so we introduced the Mirai Fury. The Mirai Fury is extremely compact. It allows itself to fold up into as small a package as we could possibly make a ship of this classification.
The Fury is a cockpit with some engines, some components, and some weapons strapped to it, to put it bluntly.
So the Mirai Fury aims to take everything that makes Xi'an super impressive with all of its grav tech and ability to gimbal thrusters and be super maneuverable. It has really cool folding wings that allows you to get it into tiny ships.
So if you have a ship with a cargo grid or an area for cargo that's large enough and a door big enough to fit it in, you can get this ship on board and helps provide on-demand support from any attacks that you may find yourself coming under whilst out in deep space.
Some might look at this and say the Mirai Fury reminds them of another popular spacecraft. What would you say to that?
I don't know what they're talking about.
So when you approach the Fury, you'll first notice this big glass dome that gives you massive visibility, and then the seat will pop out and come and present itself to you, a little bit like the Asperia Talon. So you get to look at this massive glass canopy, which is super helpful for the pilot. And when it's in like its collapsed mode, you get to see all the different underneath parts of the wing with all like the nose step on it, where the maintenance guys would have to step on. You've got the component bays coming out the side of the body. Everywhere you go, there's just components everywhere. It's crazy how densely packed this thing is together. You've got air-to-air refueling port on the top. You've got all your personal storage. Yeah, and the flaps at the back as well. We can't wait to get atmospheric flight in so those things can work for you. The lights on the end of the wingtips as well that will blink intermittently, so they'll swap around. So when you're in transform mode, they'll kind of like switch which one's going. Alex did an amazing job on that. All around the back, these thrusters kind of presenting themselves to you in their gravity cradle that will flip up and down depending on whether it's landed or not. When you're in atmosphere, you'll notice the bottom ones move more than the top, but once you're in space, that flips around. It's so maneuverable. You're constantly going to be throwing it around in directions it shouldn't be. You're like pulling stupid amounts of G-forces. So having that visibility is going to be really important, and it's something we tried our best not to compromise on.
The view from the cockpit allows you to see pretty much the whole picture of combat ahead of you. You have fantastic agility to maneuver yourself around threats, and it just looks really cool. Just the cockpit picture you have with the guns in your view all the time, firing away, missiles launching right next to your head. It's a truly unique experience compared to our other ships.
We really tried to keep the HUD as minimal as possible. That was something I spent a lot of time in white box designing, like the layout of it and stuff. And we ended up settling on just like a small kind of like glass transparent panel of all the MFDs and the radar at the top. The flight controls fold out of the armrest. There's a lot going on for people flying this ship. So the last thing we want is to overthrow you with buttons. Area to actually shoot is tiny, right? This thing's like a real glass cannon. It's got such a dominating small profile. You probably look at it come towards you like, oh, what is that? It feels like a wasp, but you'll probably hear it hit you before you realize what it is. The profile of this, it's so aggressive. It's like these massive triangle shapes, but it's still got that mist kind of flow to it. So one of the things I cannot wait to see is when I'm stood on like Daymar or something and I look up and see like 5 of these things whiz past me at stupid speed. It's just really satisfying to see this silhouette flying around, whether you're in it or on the floor looking up.
The Fury chassis is designed to support multiple variants, and we're exploring these over time. But we are introducing an additional variant alongside the base version at Invictus Launch Week. The Fury MX takes the core of the base Fury and simply replaces all the guns with all the missiles.
The amount of missiles on the wings is just stupid. I remember being told how many we were going to be putting on it, and I did everything I could to make sure everything that was supposed to be a size 2 stayed a size 2. I think we've got 20 missiles on it now, and only I think it's 8 of them are size 1s, so yeah, have fun with that.
It's the absolute Nova damage variant. This thing is designed to put out the maximum amount of damage in as short a period of time as possible.
On top of all the missiles, we also add a deployable blast shield, which provides additional armor to the front of the ship, whilst reducing visibility as the trade-off for that.
We really wanted to make this variant feel different, and that's exactly what we've got here with the blast shield. I just think it's awesome the way it comes down. We got the little Mirai boot screen as well, taking some of the inspiration from some of the more alien manufacturers as well, and it really gives it that kind of alien vibe. You can tell Xi'an Tech's been involved with it when you look at it when its blast shield's down. It's got all these cool sensors on the outside. It just looks utterly terrifying, and it's awesome.
So the MX is designed to launch from the parent craft, do one or more multiple missile attacks on larger crafts. So you launch, you commit to your run, deploy your blast shield down, launch your payload, and then get out of dodge and return. And utilizing all the tractor beam improvements in Alpha 319, you can then rearm the ship and repeat to your heart's content. So the Fury is designed to compete against some of our most agile and capable fighters, such as the Arrow and the Gladius. It does that by being much more agile than those, as well as being a smaller form. It does have limitations there. It doesn't have a quantum drive, so its range is sort of limited around planetary bodies, and ideally it is carried within other ships.
The Fury doesn't have a quantum drive because there's not room. If we tried to put a quantum drive in this thing, it would have doubled the size of it, and then it wouldn't have fit in as many ships as it can. It's more maneuverable, it's faster, it's more heavily armed, it's got everything going for it.
My favorite thing about the Mirai Fury is definitely the thrusters.
We've managed to get fully 180-degree rotating main thrusters, meaning that we don't have specific retros. This also means that it's got much more efficiency when it comes to turning and strafing and all sorts of flight maneuvers, because it can put its main thrust in pretty much whichever direction it needs to go.
They are a great ship to bring along as a sort of defensive package to allow you to react to threats coming at you, or launch very short-range attacks on other ships.
I imagine people who are using eye trackers, or they're really on it, looking around trying to see what's coming up. It's going to be super useful for them, because you're in dogfights constantly in this thing.
Ideally, you would bring multiple of these, and because of their size, you can load quite a lot in quite a lot of our other ships.
A lot of players and a lot of people like to bandy around the words pocket carrier. Well, this is the ship for the pocket carrier. This is the ship that will fill the pocket carrier. It's the pocket fighter.
In a fleet engagement, the Fury sort of takes on that very typical sci-fi trope of the larger fleet engagement starts, a ship opens its doors, and all these fighters pour out of it. It is so small and compact that really bringing lots of them is no disadvantage to yourself. You just launch them all out of the ship and they just cause merry havoc.
I really want aircraft carrier vibes off this thing, and at events like Xenothreat or Jump Town, you'll just be sat on the ground looking up, defending it, and see this kind of normal sized ship coming towards you, and you think, oh, we can deal with that. And then just Furies come flying from all directions at you, and you just don't know where to shoot. And all your ground to air defenses are stretched because There's so many small targets fleeting around you. I just can't wait to see what the community does with this ship. This ship has a big place in my heart as it's the first vehicle I've worked on here at CIG. I had so much fun designing like all the intricate details and how it would fold away and how it would all transform when it's in deployed mode. And I was so like impressed and amazed by how everyone from all the different departments brought it together. So it was like this massive moving, everything just seems to be moving constantly when you fly it around. And it really feels like it's alive almost, and it's really satisfying to just see how it comes over. And I can't wait to work on more ships that give me that feeling.
And hopefully everyone is excited about the Fury as we are internally. It's been probably one of the most favoured ships internally during its development. Then we'll look at doing some more variants in the future.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned Mirai is making one heck of a first impression with the new Fury, that there are 2 variants making their debut at this year's event, and that good things sometimes do come in small packages. And that if there ever was a ship that punched above its weight class, this would pretty much be the one. I said the thing. Now, don't forget that Invictus Launch Week starts proper tomorrow, with all the festivities you're used to returning alongside with it. How many F8 Lightnings are going to be stolen this year? We really want to know. Well, I mean, because I definitely don't have anything wagered in that office pool that we definitely don't have going. And of course, enjoy the improved new player experience, lore build, tractor beam improvements, mining updates, new missions, and everything else the recently released Alpha 319 has to offer. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for exploring the process of game development with us, and we'll see you all here next week. Yeah, but in Wrath Squadron, the 5th book in the series, they had them as an optional upgrade. And then in Avenger Squadron in the expansion pack for the game, they had them too. So, what I'm saying is, can we? Please?